And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the 2-Point Conversion NFL DFS podcast, previewing your Week 13 DraftKings action, all 16 games, game by game, as usual. You can find me on Twitter at BDentric, and my co-host, as always, on Twitter at Pater_DFS. James, how we doing, man?
Great, man. I'm good. I got to hang out with our old podcast co-host, Brian Bucks, last night. That was cool. He was in Denver, so got to hang out with him and go out to dinner and get some drinks. So that was cool. I'm doing good today. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Finally getting some rain out here in my neck of the woods, which is nice. So should be good here for a little while. But like I was saying right before we started, 16 games. We are through all the bye weeks. Tons of injuries, even as we were getting ready to record. More and more guys not practicing today, so it's way up in the air. A lot of stuff's going to change come weekend time. But let's get right into it. Thursday night football, Saints at the Cowboys. Cowboys 7.5-point home dogs. Total is 53. The Saints are on a mission from God, it seems like. James, what are you liking in this one?
Well, first off, 7.5 points is a really nice time to hit that line. If you can find it anywhere, 7.5, if you like either side of it. I personally would – I mean, I don't mind the Saints to cover 7.5 points. That means all they have to do is win by 10, and that's one of those big lines that you see in sports is that 7 points. So whatever side you like of that, make sure that you go hit on that. But then as far as DFS – looking at the showdown slate, Kamara and Thomas are the highest price by a good amount. 17.7 for Kamara and Michael Thomas 17.4 if you're looking at captain. If you're looking outside of it, it's 18 or 11.8 and 11.6. Ezekiel Elliott is 11.2. So those are all your big spends, and I understand all of those. It's interesting that Amari Cooper is only 8,200. He's been involved in the offense like we knew that he would be. And he exploded on the Thanksgiving slate. We called that one. That one was an easy call. This game should be a blowout. I don't see any reason why the Saints can't just destroy the Cowboys. I'm sure that people will try to get cute and fade them out and maybe just play the Saints defense and hope the Cowboys don't do anything, which I think is fine. But it's pretty much just the usual suspects here. You're going to want to pay up for Michael Thomas. You're going to want to pay for Alvin Kamara. You're going to want to pay for Amari Cooper. Those are pretty much the big three here. You can build a lineup with Drew Brees, Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, and Michael Thomas if you go ahead and pay down for, the kickers. You can always take the kickers, or you can go down, try to take Ben Watson, or you can try to take Taysom Hill. He might run in one in. They like using him. But this is a pretty straightforward slate, I think. As far as it occurs to the Thursday through Monday, I think that Michael Thomas is probably the best play in this game overall. Amari Cooper is still too cheap, but we know that Dallas sucks, and we know that maybe they aren't going to use him the way they need to. A situation that we kind of saw with OBJ last week where we think, okay, well, obviously this guy is in a great spot. Coaches might think otherwise. Coaches might have a different game plan in mind, and we can't control that. So for me, the best play in this game is Michael Thomas. It's not really close. You can pay for Ezekiel Elliott if you'd like, but there are better running backs through the entire Thursday through Monday, and I would rather have the upside of a wide receiver in showdown.
Yeah, I pretty much echo all of that. Like you said, if you like the Saints, take them now. They've won 5 straight games by double digits. You nailed pretty much everything. A couple other things, if you guys want some other punts, we were tweeting about it last week when the news came out, and we mentioned it on the podcast. You had Cannon, I had Kirkwood. They both got it done. Those are kind of punt options because the Saints receiving core is still banged up. So if you're looking for cheapies on the showdown slate, you can look that direction. The only other cheapie I could think of is maybe Beasley, getting one lucky one for the Cowboys. But you nailed it. Cooper's in play, Dak's in play, Breeze, the running back situation of Michael Thomas is a beast against that offense. All right, let's get into Sunday's action. There's a 13-game main slate to break down. We got a fun one to kick things off. Baltimore at Atlanta, currently a pick'em. Total is 49. We know Baltimore plays pretty good defense, but it's mainly on the road. And Atlanta's legit. Matt Ryan keeps getting it done at $5,600. So what do you like in this one, James?
Matt Ryan's really cheap. Derek Hardy mentioned that earlier today, and I was talking back and forth with him, but Yeah, over his last 5 games, over his last 6 games, 25, 17, 24, 32, 22, 30 fantasy points. And his price just, for some reason, gets this huge drop playing against Baltimore. And I think that's because DraftKings saw what Baltimore did last week on defense. And it's like, okay, but this is a different situation. Matt Ryan playing at home in a dome, I think is a really, really good play at 5,600, and a really good contrarian play as well, because in the same price range, Lamar Jackson at only 5,900, he's also firmly in play in this game going up against Atlanta's defense. But I think that's why people aren't talking about Matt Ryan is Lamar Jackson is right there at 5,900. So people don't really feel the need to attack a quote unquote good defense playing in the dome. But yeah, Matt Ryan is a really, really fantastic play at only 5,600. Julio Jones only 7,700. That's really enticing. We know that Julio Jones is mostly matchup proof. He has the most yards per route run in the NFL. I think sitting at like 3.03 or something ridiculous like that. But he's obviously matchup proof. It doesn't really matter. So at 7,700, I think he's a really, really good price point. And we'll talk about Saquon Barkley at 7,900 later. I think that if you can pair those guys up in bad matchups, you can get some not necessarily low owned, because I think most people are still going to play Saquon Barkley, but I think you'll get Julio Jones at pretty low ownership at 7,700, talking like probably 10% or something like that. Looking at the running back situation, Gus Edwards mispractice again. Alex Collins mispractice again. As much as I hate the Baltimore running back situation every single week, they are light on guys. We have basically, of the healthy ones, Ty Montgomery, Javoris Allen, and Paul Ricard. Paul Ricard won't get any run, so you would have to think that if Alex Collins and Gus Edwards both miss, Ty Montgomery would be the receiving back and Javoris Allen would be the running back, is my guess. But what I think would actually happen more so is that it would just make more designed runs for Lamar Jackson. It just would make sense that they would then run with maybe Ty Montgomery and Javoris Allen in the backfield with Lamar Jackson, and they run some option plays or something like that. But I think that it just raises the floor of Lamar Jackson to have these guys beat up. His rushing floor, that is, not his passing floor, because he's a really bad quarterback, but he's a pretty damn good running back. So that's the way that I have to think about it. He's basically a $5,900 running back that might throw a touchdown or two. So Lamar Jackson is a really good play. I don't know how I feel about the running back situation quite yet. I would probably want Javoris Allen, maybe, but I don't know how I want to look at that situation. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it, because you usually have better thoughts on those situations than I do. Then looking at the tight end situation, there's not really anybody that we want on tight end. You can go Austin Hooper if you want. 3,900 is a little bit too rich for me, especially when I have some really good value tight ends this week that that we'll talk about later. And then if you do think that Baltimore's defense is too good for Matt Ryan, they're only 2,800. And that's a pretty good price. On the other side, the Falcons defense is only 2,400. So if you think that they have a chance of stopping Lamar Jackson from running, they could be a really, really good play playing at home in Atlanta.
Yeah, this game's going to be very interesting to see how it breaks down with the injury news, like you said. I still think Gus Edwards plays. I think he's still a monster. Atlanta struggles tremendously against running backs. That's a big, big bugaboo of theirs. So if he does play at $4,800, you got to like what you see there at that price point. But outside of that, like you said, Matt Ryan at 56 is crazy. There's only one other quarterback below him that I have on my shorter list this week. And it's weird because he's averaging 335 passing yards per game this year. In the last 4 weeks, you take out Derek Carr, so the 3 weeks prior to that, you got Dalton getting almost 20, Ben got 25 points, and Cam Newton 28 points. So you can score on Baltimore, as you said. And they're on the road in the dome. I think Matt Ryan's a really, really good play at $5,600. I have no problem with that at all. And obviously, you match him up with Julio, who is matchup proof, as you said. I think it's a bang bang play. Getting Julio at only $7,700 is really, really, really criminal. That is one of those, like, you just trust the process, and if it doesn't work, so be it. But it's one of those price tags that makes no sense. If you need to go cheaper, I'd go back to Sanu at 45. He was playing great on Thanksgiving in the first quarter. Then for some reason they forgot to give him the football again. So not sure there. Everyone will go to Ridley at 54. So I'd pivot to Sanu at 45 to be a little different in that one. And then on the flip side, there's Lamar Jackson. Yes, his floor is tremendous with his legs like that. He could be a great play. Atlanta's defense, very up and down. They going into last week, he said he wants to throw the ball more. They said he wanted to throw the ball more. He threw the ball more, and he only got 16 points instead of 20 points. So you kind of got to see where you're going to go there. They're going to keep trying to work on things with him. They still want to win because they're still kind of in it, but I think they also want to see what they have there with Lamar. So this game may dictate him throwing it more, and if so, Crabtree and Snead are both cheap. Crabtree's 44 and Snead's 4,000, and both have had a good rapport with him. Crabtree's kind of been his red zone guy. Snead's been his kind of reliable guy just to get first downs. Both very, very cheap. I'm not saying by any means you need to game stack this, but if you need a cheap punt or you do choose to game stack it, I don't mind bringing it back with one of those two. But I prefer the Matt Ryan Julio combo big time. Even if you, like I said, if you don't want to game stack it, just go those two and then go elsewhere. I think they are in for a big week and will go super overlooked, as you were saying, with Baltimore, people on Baltimore's defense thinking they're the cat's meow. So I think you can definitely get in on that one and succeed. All right. Carolina at Tampa Bay. This one should be an absolute blast. I'm hoping it's not as popular as I want it to be because we do have the Chiefs, we do have the Rams, and some other games back on this main slate, which might help out. But this game, Tampa Bay's 3.5-point home dogs. The total's 56. We just got CMC coming off an absolute bonanza. Cam continues to produce. We know what Tampa Bay does. James, take us away on this one.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody is in play in this game, right? Like we have Cam Newton, but there are a lot of questionables, but they're mostly just like dings and little bruises and stuff like that. I mean, like Deshaun Jackson was limited. He's going to see a hand specialist to go see what's up with his thumb. Funchess didn't take part in Wednesday's practice. Curtis Samuel, non-participant in Wednesday's practice with a hamstring injury. So, I mean, there's a lot of injuries here. But to the main guys, I think we're fine. Like Mike Evans, 8,100, good play. DJ Moore, 5,600, great play, especially if Funchess misses. Adam Humphries, 4,200. You mentioned a couple weeks back about how Jameis Winston prefers to throw to him rather than Godwin. Cool with that. Cam Newton is questionable with a shoulder thing, but he'll play. He's been questionable a couple weeks in a row with that, so don't really have to worry about the injuries. Christian McCaffrey finally got his price bump after that huge game. He's 8,800 this week, which is pricey, man. And I understand why he's pricey, and I understand why he's going to be a popular play because Tampa Bay has been a sieve against running backs and receiving running backs all year. But Saquon Barkley later at 7,900. I mean, I think you have to make a decision there. If you're going to have a high-priced wide receiver and a high-priced running back, it's hard to have two high-priced running backs this week. You can do it, but it's not really like super comfortable. So you kind of have to make a decision there. I probably prefer Christian McCaffrey with the crowd, but in GPPs, it's conversation. The total of 56 here makes sense. Cam Newton has been really, really good. 6,600 is about right for him. Jameis Winston has been good as well when they let him complete games. He's got 35, 26, 25. Those are three of his last 5 games. He's been good when he's played. So, yeah, I don't think that you really need to cross anybody out here. I saw somebody else tweet a stat. I think it was Adam Pfeiffer over at wherever he works. I don't remember. But that Jameis Winston does have a 40% touchdown rate to his tight ends this year. So Cameron Brate is firmly in play again at $3,700. If you think this game is going to go off, I don't mind something like Cam Newton, DJ Moore, Cameron Brate stack or something like that. And obviously with a total of 56, you can have 4 or 5 players from this game and feel good about it, assuming they're all going to score. So, yeah, this game looks to be fun. It looks to be a shootout. But I have been wrong about that before when Carolina's been on the road. I was wrong about it on Detroit, and I kind of worry about it in this spot. But I understand why it's totaled the way that it is, and I don't have any issues with stacking it up.
Yeah, before I give my kind of player ideas here, what's your thoughts on having Greg Olsen and Cameron Brate this week?
I'm never really a fan of going too tight end. Like their ceilings just generally aren't high enough. I'd probably be okay with it with Greg Olsen, but I think he's hurt, man. I think that he's like actually hurt and kind of hiding it to try to give them a little bit of a morale boost. He's always been somebody that's played through injury and tried to play all the snaps of every game, and I just don't think he has it this year. So I don't think that I would do it. I think that there are situations where you can use two tight ends this week. I think you can go, if you really want to save money, I don't hate using like Lacoste and Cameron Brate together, but I don't really like doing it. I don't think it has enough upside in most cases.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to check it out on that one in this kind of potential shootout. And yeah, Carolina has let us down in some games like this in years past, but right now, the way they're slumping, teams are scoring touchdowns or scoring period on almost 61% of drives in the last 3 weeks. So that's a lot to like there in that one. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's monster game, $8,800. It is going to be interesting because he's going to be the popular play, as you said. Saquon got the massive price decrease because he's facing the Bears, and you got to respect the Bears. So it's kind of like where do you go with this one when it comes to game theory? I love Cam Newton. You're right. He's going to play. I've been playing him a ton. I have no problem playing naked Cam, but you're probably stacking this game if you're playing Cam. Cam at 66 is really, really good. CMC, David Moore, or DJ Moore, I mean. Keep an eye on Curtis Samuel. I could see him still playing this week at $3,900. I like that quite a bit. On the Tampa Bay side, like you mentioned, Humphreys at 42, Brate, Evans, Jameis. You pretty much hit them all. That's all of it. I do want to bring up, so this season up through last week, target share with Winston, Evans is getting 20.6%, Humphreys 18.2, Djax 16.2. Surprisingly, Brate 7.8, but OJ Howard was getting 8.8. So you look at it, tight end's getting over 16%. So Cameron Brate's going to feast. Humphreys at 42 could be a very nice pivot in this game. I like the Carolina side more than Tampa Bay's because if I think any defense is going to show up, I'm picking Carolina's to show up. But the odds of both of these defenses not showing up, pretty good. So I think it's a very, very good one to get it in on and see where we go from there. Chicago at the Giants. We were just talking Saquon after his big game, but very tilted because on the early-only slate, I missed cashing by 2 points, and they only gave him 5 touches in the second half. So that was one that I tilted for quite a while in that one. Of course, I did not have CMC in there, but everything else is fine. All red flames and just, yeah, very tilting. But Giants 4.5-point home dogs in this matchup. Total is 45. Outside of Saquon, not really feeling anything with the Giants. I'll just be real honest. OBJ is always in play. We got cucked on that one. It's the nicest way I can put it. We got screwed when OBJ finally even came out and said, I thought I was a part of the game plan. I thought I would have been a good play. Basically, they didn't think I was, so they didn't put me in the game plan. So, yeah, that's how things are going with the Giants right now. But Saquon, he's almost – we're about to find out for sure if he's matchup-proof this week. And I think he's a really good GPP play if you want to be different. When you look at the Chicago side, it's interesting because Trubisky still isn't practicing. That's going to be something to keep an eye on for sure. If he's not, Chase Daniels is back at 48. I don't think I really want to go there on this slate. I can respect it. He wasn't horrible by any means, but not running to play that. But you do got Tariq Cohen at 56, Anthony Miller at 45. You got the Bears defense. You can kind of play those things. This is almost a game just to cross off, in my opinion, unless you're going Saquon. But that's kind of my thoughts on this. What do you got on this one, James?
The Bears defense is the best play in this game. Like, it's not really close. I mean, at 3,300, Bears defense is averaging 12.6 fantasy points per game. They've had double-digit fantasy points all the way since they faced the New York Jets back in Week 8. And outside of that, they've only had 3 single-digit fantasy point games, and 2 of those were worth 5 points against the Jets and at Miami. This defense is egregiously priced right now. They're getting sacks, they're getting turnovers, and it's Eli Manning, dude. I mean, I know that he has weapons, but God, he's just so bad. And if you're not playing Saquon Barkley to go against the field here, I think you're playing the Bears defense at 3,300. Like, there is another defense that I like more that is cheaper later, but if I'm going to pay up a little bit, it's the Bears defense. It's 3,300, and that's a really, really bad price for them. Without Trubisky, it's hard for me to like anything in this game. if Trubisky plays, then I can like the Chicago Bears offense. I can like Allen Robinson. I can like Anthony Miller at 4,500 a lot. But I can't like anything else in this game besides Bears defense if I'm not going to have Trubisky. We're going to have Eli Manning on the other side. Like I mentioned earlier, Saquon Barkley is a really, really good play, a good pivot play at 7,900 if you're going to be playing the ownership. But if you're just going to be going with Christian McCaffrey, there's no reason to have any interest in this game. It might just be like the Bears shut down the Giants and Eli Manning breaks 3 legs and stops playing forever.
Nope, I can dig that for sure. Makes a lot of sense to me. So let's get on to the next one. Buffalo at Miami. Miami 5-point home favorites in this matchup. Total is 40. This is a dreadful one as well. What do you have on this one, James?
Not a lot, man. There are injuries over on Miami. So Amendola is questionable and Devontae Parker is questionable. He has a shoulder injury, but I mean, it's not like we want to play the Miami players anyway. Buffalo's defense has been pretty good this year. They've held opponents, not necessarily shut them down, but they've held them and they haven't been bad. And the Dolphins' defense hasn't necessarily been bad either. Neither of these offenses is good. We have Frank Gore somehow still getting the bulk of the carries, 14 attempts in the last game, 13 attempts in the game before that. So we can't trust Kenyon Drake. LaShawn McCoy is only 4,900, which, like, if you want to gamble on that, like, sure, man, if you want to take $20 and gamble on LaShawn McCoy being good, then go for it. I don't have a problem with that, but I wouldn't be including him in any high-dollar lineups or cash lineups or anything like that. This game just it doesn't really have anything going for it. I can't like any of the Buffalo options at wide receiver. Because we don't know who Josh Allen is going to throw in an accurate deep ball to. And Josh Allen at 5,300 is probably okay, but he's not going to rush for 99 yards again. And I don't know, man. There's nothing to really like in this game. I think the best play in this game is the Dolphins defense at 2,700 against the Bills, who have just been bad. But even then, Josh Allen looked pretty good last week, so I don't think that I would trust that either.
Yeah, this is a bad game, very bad game. It's the best way I can put it. Like you said, you're trying to rely on Kenyon Drake getting another big game. That's really, really tough. I do love the Dolphins D at 27. At home, they're averaging almost 11 points a game, fantasy points-wise, compared to on the road. So I do like that. Like you said, Josh Allen, he did great, but he relies so much on his legs that it's just you're really, really hoping for some big stuff. So I do like the Dolphins D at 27. And if you don't like that and you need to, for some reason, want to roll the dice with Shady McCoy, I was all in last week at 4,200. That one was tilting as well. At 49, it's still a really good play. He's still averaging over 20 touches per game. You can beat the Dolphins in the rushing game. They're giving up over 17 points a game to the running back position on average this season in DraftKings. So if you want to look at Shady at 49, I get it. I think Gus Edwards will be chalk at 48. You'll have Josh Adams down there, Marlon Mack's 5K. There's a lot of mid 5K guys you might have better luck with than Shady, but we know the upside of Shady McCoy at 49. So it's Shady, it's Dolphins D. Those are the only two things I would look at. Otherwise, move on. There are 12 other games on the slate. You can pick from those. Denver at Cincinnati. Cincinnati 4.5-point home dogs. Total 42.5. It's the Jeff Driscoll era in Cincinnati. To me, that makes a dramatic hit to all pieces of that offense, and especially until we see what this kid can do. I know he was okay at Florida. He can use his legs. It gives a little upside. I think it's like $4,500. I want nothing to do with it. I know there's going to be a lot of people wanting to do it. If you want to, James, I respect it. I have no problem with it. I just got to see what this is because this team was just in a downward spiral, and now you're putting this kid out there. I don't have faith in it at all. Their defense is pretty beat up. We saw Baker take advantage of it last week. You were on the Denver passing game last week. I could see going back there again with Keenum, Emmanuel Sanders, those kind of guys, because this Bengals defense is not good. They are giving up a lot of points in the passing game right now. So you can really get something in there. Phillip Lindsay at 5,400 is one of my favorite plays of the week, price point wise. This guy continues to get it done, and their head coach is a moron because you listen to him talk about when they ask him, why don't you give him the ball more? And he has some of the most BS answers in the world. But Lindsay, he's averaging more yards per carry, just all the stats. He's in the top 5 all over the place. at the running back position at 5,400. So I love him this week again. And then you mentioned Lacoste earlier at $2,600. He's a starting tight end now. Keenum likes the tight end. We saw that with Hireman. I think he's definitely in play again here. A very cheap tight end. So there's a lot to like on this Denver side, especially when it comes to value-wise. You can go get your Julio, go get your CMC, get your stuff there, get some value here in Denver. I got no problem with it all. I'm staying away from Cincinnati. Also, last but not least, the Denver defense is only $2,700 if you want to really pick on Cincinnati. What do you like here, James?
Yeah, I love the value on the Denver side. I like the value on the Cincinnati side as well, actually. I don't like Jeff Driscoll per se, but he was good in his takeover from Dalton last week. I mean, 29 attempts, he had 58% completion percentage. His average sucked. It was only a 5.3 per catch, but I mean, he did throw a touchdown and he did have a couple runs, and I don't know. I'm not going to play him, but I think that this game, when I say that I like the value in this, I mean that I think both teams are competent enough to take advantage of the bad defenses on either side. I think that Denver is competent enough to take advantage of Cincinnati, who is the worst defense in the league right now. And I think that Jeff Driscoll can do enough to maybe get the ball to A.J. Green a couple times, 7,400. Or Tyler Boyd 6,100, John Ross 3,900. I mean, if AJ Green doesn't play and we have Tyler Boyd and John Ross, I could absolutely see going Keenum, Emmanuel Sanders, Matt Lacoste, and bringing it back with Tyler Boyd, and that's super cheap in a situation where I think that there's a lot of upside there. But like I said, my main focus is on the Broncos side. I called Emmanuel Sanders last week. He did really, really well. It was only a matter of time before he started doing well again as the wide receiver one. He had a couple down weeks, but we know this is somebody who has 35-point upside. So at 6,300, I think he's a fine play against an awful defense. Cortland Sutton at 4,200 was another pretty good play. I mean, the volume was a little bit down from the weeks before, but I mean, if you look at the weeks since they traded Demaryius Thomas, he had 4 targets, 5 targets, 6 targets, and 4 targets. That sounds like he's going to average 5 to 6 targets to me, and I don't hate that for his price of 4,200. I think people are pretty much off that train at this point, but I don't mind going back to it in GPPs. This game is just really interesting. Matt Lacoste is probably my favorite tight end of the week just because he's 2,500. He's min-price going up against this awful defense, and if Denver's going to have red zone opportunities, they like using their tight end, and they like using Phillip Lindsay in the red zone. So I'm fine with both of those. I don't have any problem with the Denver side of things, but I am interested to see. I'm a little bit intrigued about Cincinnati because I don't respect Denver. I don't respect Denver on the road at all. Joe Mixon is only 7,300, and you got to think that they scheme him into the game plan because they're not going to try to do too much with Driscoll. So there's a lot of things that you can like in this game. I'm just not entirely sure on how to attack it. I know that I like Emmanuel Sanders, I like Lacoste, and I like Joe Mixon, but I still need to think about Driscoll a little bit more before I get into the wide receivers for Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. When I started taking my notes, I'm like, okay, Mixon, you got to love him because in theory, like you said, they should try to make him a focal point. He's going to be a safety valve on the dump-off passes. Mixon should thrive in this offense. So I have no problem going there if that's what you want to look at. That's a good way to bring it back if you are stacking or whatever. I am curious, and I don't have the database in front of me, and maybe that's something I can look into throughout the week. Preseason wise, and I was thinking about this with another game we got coming up. Who was Driscoll's guy? Was it Erickson? Was it Ross? I believe AJ Green's gonna be back this week. At least that's what he's saying right now. If that happens, then that really screws up the whole idea of playing to his type of guy. But if you think like 3 wide sets, he might have his guy out there. And we've seen that time and time again this year already with these guys in that position. But that's more long shot type stuff. But I'm with you there. Rams at the Lions. This is one of our 2 double-digit road favorites. The Lions are 10-point home dogs in this one. The total is 55. You got a Rams team coming off a bye week. The Lions just lost at home to Chase Daniels on Thanksgiving. There's not a lot going on good in Detroit right now, James. What do you think about this one?
Bro, stack the Rams. Just stack the Rams. I'm so happy about this situation. And this is my favorite stacking spot of the week, not Kansas City. I'm going to be a little bit contrarian on that. Like, it's not that Kansas City isn't a great spot, but whenever you have a good coach coming off of a bye week and a coach that can really look at what they need to do, like, you need to have that spot. Kansas City coming off of a bye is always a good play. The Patriots coming off of a bye, always a good play. And I assume that the Rams will also be a fantastic play coming off of a bye. I just really, really love the spot. So I really like stacking them. Jared Goff's only 6,400. That's still too cheap, I think, especially if you have Patrick Mahomes, who is, 7,600.
76 is crazy.
Yeah, I would rather take the Rams as huge home favorite or huge road favorites against Detroit and stack up with the wide receivers who are also cheaper than the wide receivers that you have over in Kansas City. Tyreek Hill is 9,100. Brandon Cooks is 7K. That is the same player. I don't know why I would want to play Kansas City when I can have Kansas City light with the Rams coming off of a bye week. That being said, Jared Goff, Brandon Cooks, and Robert Woods, you can bring all three of those guys together for a pretty good mid-range price and still have room to get some big pieces out there with some of the value plays that we have. Or you can go Jared Goff, one of the wide receivers, and Todd Gurley. Or you can go Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, and then bring it back with Kenny Golladay, who's a great play at 6,700. There's a lot of ways that you can do this, and this is my favorite spot of the week. I do think that Detroit will try to play slow. I think that we're going to see a lot of running game. I think we're going to see a lot of clock control. I think that Matt Patricia is kind of a bitch, and he doesn't want to be aggressive. He doesn't want to push the ball down the field. He doesn't want to try to fire back with these teams, but it's not going to matter against the Rams. They're just going to keep going, and they're going to pull a Saints and put up 45 points on Detroit, whether Detroit tries to fire back or not. So it's just really, really nice spot. I like all the main pieces here. On the Detroit side, with Kerryon Johnson, he wasn't present for the media access part of it, of practice. If he doesn't play, I'm going back to Theo Riddick at 4,700, like, without a doubt. I still like Theo Riddick at 4,700, even if Kerryon Johnson does play, because he's still going to get like upwards of 8-9 targets. And all that has to happen is one of those to go for 50 yards and a touchdown, and he's going to annihilate value. So I just really like this game up and down. Kenny Golladay is my favorite part of the Lions offense, but you don't need me to tell you that. He's a really, really obvious play at this point. And if you aren't scared of Aaron Donald, Matt Stafford is only 5,400 playing at home. He throws the ball a lot, so I don't hate that play, but yeah, it's all Rams for me. Rams are my favorite play of the week.
Yeah, I don't need to echo too much. There's a couple other things I'll hit on. Yes, all the Rams players are in play. I think Todd Gurley goes super under-owned. I know he's expensive, but if you want to get weird, he's going to go overlooked in this one because everyone's going to want the air attack, which can't really blame you. Josh Reynolds at 49 is another cheap piece. We've seen him each week really grow into that Cooper Kupp role, so something to keep an eye on there. Aqib Talib is supposed to be back this week for the Rams defense. Galladay's all by himself out there pretty much because Marvin Jones is now on the IR, so Galladay's still a great play. I don't care who the Rams defense has coming back, but Wayne Ellington, he's done it again for 2 straight weeks. He's $3,500, and he's getting a ton of targets in your PPR leagues. Like FanDuel, probably not so much because he's not getting a ton of yards, but he's going to get you probably at least 5 for 50 or like as a floor and go for higher than that. So you have a safe floor there at $3,500. Maybe he sneaks into the end zone. Maybe he breaks a play. I think that's a really good value if you're game stacking this one. You could have Galladay and Ellington if you really want to get weird in this one. So and come back with all the Rams players. I always like Theo Riddick. I always have a soft spot for Theo Riddick, especially in games where they should have to throw it. But I agree. They're going to try to slow it down. And if Kerryon is healthy, that is the big if, because he was out last week. Like you said, he should come back because he did the off the media practicing today. If he's back, he's a great play this week. He's a phenomenal play this week. So very, very fun game. Very, very good game to stack. 55-point total is one of the highest ones on the slate. But should be a fun one. And I agree. You're going to get Kansas City Light at a hell of a discount, like a ridiculous discount. I'll be definitely checking out Fanshare Sports on like Saturday to see what they're hearing from all the different podcasts and articles on the comparisons between the Chiefs and the Rams ownership. I'm really curious to see where that's leaning at the moment. All right, we got another big favorite. At least this one's at home. Arizona at Green Bay. Arizona has been an absolute joke, just a joke of a team. Somehow they came back though and beat the Chargers, but they could be a joke too. Oh, no, actually, Chargers won that game. Never mind. Green Bay, 14-point home favorites. Totals 44.5. This one, if you want to go Aaron Rodgers at 62, go for it. I think I'd rather have Goff at 64, but Rodgers is great. You got guys like Aaron Jones at $6,700. He has just been a machine. They're finally giving him the ball over and over again. I love that. Devontae Adams at 79 is great. You can get weird with the ESB or NVS, but I wouldn't go too crazy there. But it's Rodgers, it's Jones, it's Adams. Don't get cute with me in this one, at least my opinion. Arizona side, you got DJ, who's getting all the touches. Just production's just so bad because Arizona's so bad right now. Fitzgerald's getting a lot of the red zone looks. Kirk's getting some other looks, but Fitz at 51, RSJ at 29. But I don't think I want to game stack it. I'd rather have Green Bay. I think the best stack in this game, though, is Aaron Jones and the Green Bay defense because the Arizona Cardinals are a travesty. So Green Bay D is only $2,800. You can get Aaron Jones, Green Bay D, do the running back defense stack, and walk away because Green Bay should be in full control in this one, in my opinion. What do you like here, James?
I'll keep it short and sweet. You hit on pretty much everything. Aaron Jones is a really, really good play at 6,700. Aaron Rodgers could throw 4 touchdowns in the first half. I don't think that there would be any issues with him doing that. He could throw them all to Devontae Adams. It's really just Green Bay side of things. I'm done with David Johnson on the year. 7,400. You're basically paying for his ceiling at that point. You're paying for him to put up 30 fantasy points because there's other running backs at 7,400, like between basically 6,500 and 9K. You're not going to play David Johnson. There's no reason to play David Johnson. He's just on a terrible team with a terrible quarterback with a terrible coach, and I'm just not about it. So I think Aaron Jones is a good play. Devontae Adams is my favorite play in this game, and I would rather go Goff over Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not going to knock anybody for playing Aaron Rodgers as a 10-point home favorite or 14-point home favorite against the against Cardinals. So I'm fine with you stacking them up if you want to, but I'm going to stick on the Rams.
Not a problem at all. Let's go to Cleveland at Houston. You got Baker versus Deshaun. Houston has won 8 straight games. They're 6-point home favorites in this matchup. The total is 47.5. This could be a sneaky spot for some action in this game. What are you looking at here, James?
Kind of interesting that Houston is 6.5-point favorites at home here, coming off of. I mean, they played Monday night, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So they're on a short week. They're coming home playing against Cleveland. Cleveland has looked renewed and looked good, but Mayfield's had some really, really easy matchups. So I can't really look too much into that. I don't think that it's really like a revolution. I think that it was just kind of them being mad about Hugh Jackson being a douche, and they're taking it out on some weaker opponents. So this is a way harder matchup. But I don't know, man. Maybe they really have like revolutionized what they're doing, and now the culture has changed, and they're able to unite against Hugh Jackson. And I don't know. It's kind of a hard situation to consider there. Nick Chubb at 7K is probably. I mean, he's a good play, but he's not a better play than Aaron Jones. I mean, you're on the road against Houston, whereas Aaron Jones is at home against Arizona. So, if you're going to play Nick Chubb, I don't know. I think that's a way worse play than playing Aaron Jones at 6,700. So I'm going to pass on that. Lamar Miller at only 4,600. Some people might look at his game log and be like, oh, man, he had 162 yards, but he had 99 yards on one run. He only ran the ball 12 times. Like, his volume isn't.
We don't have to talk about that.
I mean, we do because I have him.
I know.
But yeah. Condolences to your life, by the way. But yeah, 4,600. I don't think that's bad at home against Cleveland. Cleveland hasn't been incredible against the run. They've been pretty bad overall. So, but I mean, better recently. 4,600. Lamar Miller is probably not a bad play, but he's not a great play either. I'd rather have Theo Riddick for his receiving upside in most leagues. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is 8,200. Fantastic play every week. Kiki Kute is 4,700 and questionable. Limited participant with his hamstring still. That's going to continue to worry me. I can't play guys that have those hamstring injuries. It's just so hampering. It's so hard to get out of a route with a bad hamstring. I don't really know where to go in this game at wide receiver. Like, I know that I would go DeAndre Hopkins. That one's easy. But Cleveland, it kind of seems like Rashard Higgins, Antonio Callaway, Jarvis Landry, and David Njoku, like, I don't know who I like more out of that group. I mean, Njoku had 5 targets last week, but he only had 1 target against Atlanta. And Jarvis Landry is just a continuous kick in the nuts. It doesn't matter how many targets he has. He's got 5, 5, and 7 in the last couple of weeks. And his average is going back up, but he's not producing. So I don't – this game might have some goodness to it, but I don't know where I want to focus to find that goodness.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question for me in this one. It's like you said it. Landry's getting targets, but he's tilting. I think Baker's in a very interesting spot here at $5,600, but we talked about a couple other quarterbacks in that range. We'd probably rather go to. Chubb costs too much, like you said. I like the Aaron Jones comparison there. Callaway did get some more love last week at 4,100. That's a guy Baker did like coming into the season. Maybe they're going to keep building that rapport. That could be an angle you could go to. In Njoku, you can beat the Texans defense through the tight end position. So that'd be the one spot I'd look to there at 4,300. But I think the plays, D Hopkins always been played 8,200, like you said. He's a great play. It's just weird to get Julio at 77 this week. So, really, that's going to make things interesting. But Lamar at 46, I like quite a bit. This is a Browns team you can definitely get to. Their Browns are allowing over 165 yards a game from scrimmage to running backs. I think that's a lot to go through there. Yes, Alfred Blue's getting a lot of love still, but Lamar Miller's been a top 20 running back in 4 of the past 5 games, and at $4,600, he's $300 cheaper than LaShawn McCoy, who we just talked about a little bit ago. I think if you're going to punt the position or you're looking for a cheap flex, I don't hate Lamar Miller. Just know that he could get vultured by one Alfred Blue, but I think there's a lot to like in that position if you so choose. All right, let's go to one that could be really, really fun, as it's a guy I've been riding a lot this year. I know you've been on him as well. We got the Colts at the Jags. Andrew Luck still too cheap in my opinion. The Jags are 4-point home dogs in this matchup. Totals 47.5. I really like Andrew Luck at $5,800. This Jags team obviously is not the team of old, especially when it comes to the defensive side of things. So give me some Andrew Lucks at 58, who continues to produce game after game after game. Marlon Mack at 5K is not horrible. I think I want the passing game here, but at 5K, he has a very nice, cheap running back you can look to build around if you so choose. But for me, it's Andrew Luck. You look at the likes of T.Y. Hilton, who we like much more at home than on the road, but still in a really good spot here to get you double digits or more points because he's only 6K. If his price tag was in the high 6s into the 7s, I'd be a little more suspect, but at 6K, I can still give him a good look there. He's getting a ton of the team's targets. Almost 27% of the team's targets the last 3 weeks. So something to keep in mind there with T.Y. And then the thing to keep an eye on is the tight end position. Everyone wants it to be Eric Ebron at 4,200. He is the man without Jack Doyle. His target share is ridiculous without Jack Doyle. But Eric Ebron isn't practicing right now, and Swoop could be the guy at $2,500 to keep an eye on. If Ebron's out, Swoop at 25 could be uber cheap. You got him and our boy in Denver, both $2,500 is pretty crazy for good tight ends there. But I love Andrew Luck at $5,800. I think he's a really solid play there. On the Jacksonville side, I need to get a clearer picture of what the running back situation is going to be without Leonard Fournette. Like people say TJ Yeldon, you got Carlos Hyde at $3,300. He could be the guy that gets the running. Yeldon gets the passing. Still at $3,300 for Carlos Hyde can be really, really nice. So something to keep in mind there. And then they got Cody Kessler starting at quarterback. That's a mess. So I love the Indianapolis side of things. Even the Indy defense is very, very interesting at only where did I write that down? $2,600. So the Indy defense pretty cheap in this matchup. But Andrew Luck and build around that is where I'm going here. What do you like here, James?
Yeah, so I want to kind of bring a little bit of your excitement down on Andrew Luck here because I get it. He's been a really, really good play this year, but the difference between him at home and him away, and this is something I mentioned earlier in the year, is pretty drastic. He averages 26.8 fantasy points per home, but only 21.4 on the road. He averages 8 yards per attempt or 8 yards per reception at home and only 6.1 away. His longest pass is 68 yards at home, 34 away. He's got 19 touchdowns and 4 interceptions at home and 13 touchdowns and 7 interceptions on the road. To push that even farther, Without having Jack Doyle, he's even worse and averages a couple less fantasy points per game. And T.Y. Hilton at home averages 20.9 fantasy points per game, and on the road, 11.9. So we have all the key pieces to this offense that do significantly worse on the road than they do at home. And as much as I think that Andrew Luck is fantastic, and I mean, 20 fantasy points for 5,800, I'm not going to be mad about that. But I don't think that he's like a tournament-winning QB this week. I think that he's pretty good for cash if you're going to do that. I think he's good for like 50-50s and like 3-men and stuff like that. But I don't think he's good for those huge GPPs. I think that there are better options. I mean, you can get Tom Brady at home for 5,800. You know, I would rather do that than play Andrew Luck on the road, even if Jacksonville hasn't been good. It's more of a situation of I don't trust Andrew Luck on the road than I am scared of Jacksonville's defense. You mentioned the running back situation for the Jags. It's probably going to be Carlos Hyde running the ball. He's not going to get any receptions. It'll be all Carlos Hyde for that. But there was one thing that we noticed earlier in the year where when they know that they're not going to be with Leonard Fournette the next game, like if it is a situation like that, Carlos Hyde doesn't touch the ball much. They usually have somebody else to take the rushing work, and that's going to be Carlos Hyde. That's why they went and got him. So he had 10 attempts for 33 yards after Leonard Fournette left. That's pretty damn good for a quarter. That's quite a few attempts. So I guess it kind of depends on how you think this offense is going to work without Blake Bortles. Cody Kessler can run. I actually like Cody Kessler a lot from what he did with the Browns. He's a cool fantasy quarterback. 4,500. I actually think that he's pretty cool this week. My problem is I don't know who I would pair with him. I think that he's got a pretty decent floor from his rushing, and he actually has a pretty good arm. Like, he's not a bad quarterback, but do you match him with Carlos Hyde? Do you match him with Dede Westbrook? You match him with Dante Moncrief? The problem with a spot start for a quarterback is you don't know who they're going to go to, especially a quarterback that hasn't been in the system for a long time. So there's just a lot up in the air for the Jacksonville side of things. I don't think that you need to dip your toes in the water here. I don't think you really need to try to figure out who it's going to be. I think that if you wanted to go naked Kessler in cash because he's super cheap, I don't hate that option. But I would be avoiding this game entirely. I don't like Indianapolis on the road, and I don't like the Jacksonville situation being so in flux right now. But at the same time, I understand if you want to play Luck because his floor is fantastic. He's not going to be a bad play. I just don't think that he's great for tournaments.
Okay, I can dig that. It is definitely not the most ideal situation. I think it's more of the Jags are so bad right now, so bad. But we shall see. Let's go to a game that could be potentially so bad, but a little bit of value on the home team. Jets at the Titans. Titans 9 points. The Tennessee Titans are 9-point home favorites. The total is 40.5, so they're heavy favorites with an extremely low total. What do you like here, James?
Take the Jets spread, first off. The Titans should not ever be 9-point favorites against anyone. The Jets shouldn't be 9-point favorites against Alabama. The Titans shouldn't be 9-point favorites against Alabama. That's a really, really bad line. I noticed that Tajay Sharp was limited today. That's interesting, kind of. Corey Davis is healthy. He's really the only person you care about on this team. 4 targets, 4 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown last week. And a rushing attempt for 39 yards because, yeah, sure, why not? Corey Davis is really good to play at 5,500. I don't have any problem with that. If you're going to play Corey Davis, you're probably playing him as a one-off because there's not really any reason to use Mariota, even at 5,200 at home. Because I don't trust the line. Like, why would this team ever be a 9-point home favorite with the ups and downs that they've had? I mean, Mariota's floor is literally 4 fantasy points. I don't know. I don't think that I want to trust that line. I want to wait to see what side the Sharps take, which I'm literally positive they're going to get that down to like 7.5, 8, something like that before Sunday. But I guess if you wanted to gamble, I know that Bucks is kind of like he's intrigued by Mariota and Corey Davis. I talked to him about that last night, so that's fine. But then outside of that, like, where do you even look in this game? Like, there's Corey Davis at 5,500. There's Javon Curse at 4K. 12 targets last week against New England, but like how you can't possibly assume that he's going to do that again. He had 5 targets the week before. I don't think that I want to test that. Sam Darnold is questionable. He was just limited, but he'll probably play. I don't know, man. I'd rather just hear your thoughts on this. I don't like this game at all.
Yeah, I want nothing to do with the Jets side because it could be Quincy Enunwa, it could be Jermaine Kearse, it could be a lot of factors there. I just don't want to touch it. I don't hate Mariota and Corey Davis combo. I can get behind that as a cheap 1-2 punch with some upside. I think I'd probably rather Davis one-off, like you said, because Mariota might just throw the 1 touchdown to Davis, but not have his full game, or 1 touchdown and 100 yards for Davis could play off, basically. So that's where I look there. Maybe Jonnu Smith, but I think we found some cheaper tight ends we already like in lacrosse and possibly even in the last game we talked about. So I don't know. It's tough. The GPP play that could, like, if you're playing crazy and want to roll every dice known to man, it's Derrick Henry this week. I hate Derrick Henry, but in a game that should be low scoring, they're heavy favorites. They're going to pound the ball a lot. We've seen it a couple times this year. Derrick Henry at super cheap is there. I want nothing to do with him. I'm just bringing him up as something to keep an eye on throughout the week. But that's one of those I can already see coming Sunday. He gets like 2 garbage touchdowns or something, like LeGarrette Blount did on Thursday, Thanksgiving, crap like that, and it just tilts the entire slate. So that's where I see this one happening. That's how bad this game is, yes.
Yeah, it's pretty gross, man. I don't know why you would ever feel the need to like subject yourself to this game, but if you're like some sort of masochist that loves this kind of thing, go for it.
Yeah, because that's the biggest thing is there's 13 games on the slate. It's okay to cross off some games and narrow down your player field. It's okay. And you got a fun one here. You got Kansas City at Oakland. Oakland, 15-point home dogs. 15. Chiefs off a bye. This is wild, and I don't hate the line at all. The total's 55.5. The Chiefs are overpriced, but they've earned it. So I guess overpriced is the wrong word. What do you like here, James? Because this is going to be crazy.
I don't know how, like you said, they were 15-point favorites.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I don't know how Oakland is even projected to score 20 points. Like, I think the line should be more than that. I think the line should be like 17.5, almost 18. Oakland is so bad, and they have nothing. I mean, they have like the broken corpse of Jordy Nelson played all but 6 snaps last week. They have Marcel Aitman, who I actually like a lot this week at 3,600 because Kansas City is going to get up on him. And Marcel Aitman had 10 targets last week. Like, he only caught 3 of them, but if he catches 6 targets for like 75 yards and a touchdown at 3,600, I love that. I'm totally fine with that. This game should just be a bloodbath. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be a bloodbath. The only problem that I have with it is that all these players for Kansas City are just overpriced. I can't bring myself to pay $7,600 for Patrick Mahomes when I can have $6,400 Jared Goff. I can't bring myself to have $9,100 Tyreek Hill when I can have $7,700 Julio Jones. I can't bring myself to pay $7,000 for Travis Kelce, even though he's a fantastic play and he's worth it. Like, I just can't bring myself to have those guys. I like Kareem Hunt at 7,800. I would rather bet that they use the ground game more in this game and not have to pass up a storm. I would just rather bet that and not pay the premium for these guys' ceilings. I mean, the only player that I think you would need to pay it for here is Patrick Mahomes, because the other guys, they're just too overpriced for a position that has much better value at both wide receiver and tight end. I don't know why you would be going up to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't work. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't mean that you can't go Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce and get ceiling games out of all of them, because it's totally like something that can happen. But I'm in the business of playing value and playing guys because they're underpriced, not because they're overpriced. So I won't be going there, even though I know that there will be a lot of people that do, and I'm not going to knock anybody that does. On the Oakland side, I've heard some talk of Jared Cook at 4,700, and it's like, okay, look, I think that Jared Cook is an okay play in a vacuum at 4,700. I don't think that's overpriced. I don't think that it's necessarily underpriced either. But in that range, right, you have Greg Olsen at 4,100. You have Eric Ebron at 4,200. You have David Njoku at 43 and Rob Gronkowski at 54. And you're telling me you'd rather play Jared Cook?
Yeah.
Like, I don't buy that. I don't think that he's worth it. I think I'd rather pay down or have any one of the people who are within $1,000 of him, besides maybe Jack Doyle because he's on IR. Like, I'd rather have pretty much anyone within $1,000 of him. So I think I'm just going to gravitate towards Marcel Aitman. I don't think that he's necessarily a fantastic wide receiver, but I think that the volume will be there. And it's better to have somebody who can break it long than have Jared Cook at 4,700. And then my favorite play in this game is actually the Chiefs defense at 2,500. That's an egregious price against this Raiders team. The Chiefs defense has been bad, sure, but they're averaging 8.1 fantasy points per game, and they're 15-point favorites over a team that can't score double-digit points in a game. Like, I am totally okay with paying $2,500 for the Chiefs defense, and I don't even think it'll be popular. I think the Bears defense will be popular, not the Chiefs, and that's weird.
Yeah, no, you nailed it with the Chiefs defense. We just saw the Ravens. I know at home, the reason why I love it is because they're going to turn the ball over. They're going to get sacks. Then all of a sudden, the Ravens had 2 touchdowns. They blew up. The Chiefs could do that. The Chiefs could still give up 14 to 21 points, but with all the sacks, turnovers, and maybe a defensive score, voila. Like, game on. So at $2,500, I don't hate that at all. On the Raiders side, Aitman was the only receiver I liked at $3,600. The only other guy I would look at would be maybe Jalen Richard with a ton of dump offs at 43. That's about all I want. I like the Aitman play at 36, though. Definitely worth a look. The Chiefs are pricey, like you said. I have no problem with people wanting to use Mahomes. I might try to build one and see what it looks like with all the different value that is out there. Mahomes, Hill's crazy. I do like Kelsey a lot at 7K because in my mind I treat him like a wide receiver 1. I don't treat him like a tight end. So, like, I get everything you're saying. So, you still have Ertz. You have all those other guys up top that I think Kittle, we'll talk about him. People are not going to own him this week, and you should. Kelsey at 7K is still very good. I think the only guy that is underpriced in this team is Kareem Hunt because in a matchup, I guess, at $7,800, Kareem Hunt could just blow the roof off this place. Kareem Hunt could be this week's CMC in this matchup. Like where he's priced, how he could blow up. I think CMC is a better player. There's less options in that offense compared to Kansas City. But Hunt could just be the workhorse in a game where they could just blow the doors off of Oakland, where they should blow the doors off of Oakland. So Hunt at 78 with that Chiefs defense could be really, really nice. Other than that, this could be a bloodbath. Not quite the Rams-Chiefs game we saw a couple weeks ago. Minnesota at New England. New England 6-point home favorites. Totals 48.5. Sony Michel at $6,100, definitely in play. Rex Burkhead will be back, but I don't mind Sony at all on this one. He's still going to get, even if he gets 80% of the workload, he's still getting close to 20 touches or more a game. They love feeding him the rock. Another big game last week, got the price bump. I go back to him again at $6,100. Yes, the Vikings they're good against the run, but you can definitely get some work in with Sony. James White coming off a complete dud, got a price decrease to 65, could be sneaky value in that matchup if you so choose to go there. The patching running backs have done some damage against the Vikings this season. Gronk is back. You mentioned him with a touchdown last week. I think a nice one that's going to go super overlooked. It gets overlooked almost every single week. He's Julian Edelman at $7,100. Like, never gets the love, and he's just a consistent machine. I think it's a great cash game play with GPP upside in this matchup. Could definitely do some damage against the slot against the Vikings. That's where you can kind of get to their defensive scheme. And then Josh Gordon's always that kind of can blow the top off. I'll let you talk about him. That's your boy, and I support all of that. But Sony, Edelman are kind of the two favorites I like in this New England side of things. On Minnesota, Thielen and Diggs are still banged up. They probably will play, but they're just kind of hanging out and not playing much in practice right now. Diggs is cheaper. Thielen, I think, is the play to go because people will go to Diggs. Both really good plays. If you're going to stack the game, get them both. Other than that, not much else I like here. I don't even like Dalvin Cook in this one. It's pretty much a little bit of New England, or I'm going elsewhere. What do you like here, James?
Well, Rob Gronkowski is only 5,400, and he's playing at home, and that's pretty hot. And you can get Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski for just over 11K, like 11.2, and that's pretty awesome. I really, really like that. I think that Gronkowski is a fantastic play. He's healthy enough He had 7 targets, 3 receptions, 56 yards, and a touchdown. You got to think that moves up a little bit as his health continues to return, and playing at home against Minnesota defense that we know has strength on the outside, but don't necessarily have the best coverage linebackers in the world. They're really good run stoppers, but not necessarily really good pass defenders. So Gronkowski seems like a really, really good play to me. He's my top tight end of the week. I'm sure that most people will have Kelsey, but I have Gronkowski this week. And I just think that value is really, really good when he should be 7K every single week and he's 5,400. Like, that's fantastic value. Stephon Diggs did miss practice today with a knee issue. So if he misses and Adam Thielen plays, all the Adam Thielen, literally every single Adam Thielen that you can fit in your lineup, which is all of one in every single lineup. At 8K, he's a better play than anybody else up there if he's the only wide receiver on that field. And it doesn't take much to convince me to play him at that point. You mentioned Julian Edelman at 7,100. Fine with that. Don't have any problem with that. He's a PPR monster like he's always been. Josh Gordon only 5,900. Now that Gronkowski is healthy and Edelman has been like doing his thing, Josh Gordon's not really getting enough targets for me to like warrant that price. I mean, he still has that big playability, but 5 targets last week for against the Jets. It's just I don't think that the volume is going to be there for me to be really intrigued with him. That being said, he can always blow the top off the field. He can get those 80-yard receptions. But I think I'm going to pass. I think that middle ground for wide receiver between about 5 and 6K, it's really hard for me to like this week because I like Julio Jones and I like these expensive running backs, and I can't get a middle ground wide receiver if I'm going to go that route. So he's probably going to be left off. It doesn't mean he's a bad play. It just means I don't like the volume as much as I like paying 5,400 for Gronkowski. I'd just rather have him in that kind of same price area. And that being said, you can go Lacoste and Gronkowski if you want. Like, that is a 2 tight end situation that I'm okay with because Gronkowski is a wide receiver 1 and he's disgusting and he can go 150 yards and 2 touchdowns and not think a day of it. You know, he's one of those wide receivers that can. So I'd rather just have Gronkowski. I think you prioritize him this week. And I didn't even get to mention Tom Brady, but Tom Brady playing at home, he's been better this year at home, obviously, 23.4 fantasy points per game as opposed to 16.1 on the road. There's a little bit of variance there, but like I like Tom Brady at 5,800. If I'm not going to go Jared Goff, I'm probably going to go Tom Brady, and then I'll try some Mahomes. That's probably my top 3 quarterbacks this week. But I like New England. I like Minnesota if Stephon Diggs misses. And Kirk Cousins is really cheap at 5,500. That's mispriced. He needs to be more expensive than that. But like I said, it's hard for me to like anything under Tom Brady. I'm okay with going that low, but if I'm going to go that low, I'm probably just going to go to Matt Ryan, not Kirk Cousins. And that's probably a mistake because I think that this game has a better chance of shooting out than that Atlanta game does. So I don't know. Maybe I should like Kirk Cousins more.
Well, he would definitely be the contrarian side of things here. It's just I seem to like Kirk more at home, but then again, he went and torched the Rams in LA. So you never know. The weapons are there. If Thielen and Diggs suit up, you can definitely look at that option. All right, last game on this 13-game main slate. You got Niners at the Seahawks. Seahawks 10-point home favorites. Total's only 46. There's some interesting plays in this one. What do you like on this one, James?
Yeah, San Francisco sucks, man. They haven't been as bad as advertised, I guess, since losing Jimmy G, but they've still been pretty bad. Nick Mullins is obviously a QB3. Like, he's there for a reason, and he's not going to have these huge ceiling games each week. 32 attempts last week. He only completed 56% of them and had 2 interceptions and kind of broke the game for him. And against the Giants, he couldn't produce either. So I think we're kind of seeing who he's going to be. He's not going to be what we saw against Oakland. He's going to be a $4,700 quarterback. He might get you 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, but he's not going to be that huge ceiling guy. Russell Wilson, 6,300 at home. I like that significantly more. He's been really, really good over the last couple of weeks. He's had only 1 game below 20 fantasy points in the last 6 weeks. So his price is what is an issue for me, though. At 6,300, like, why would I not go to Jared Goff, who has that huge total? Why would I not go to Cam Newton, who's a little bit more expensive than that? Why would I not go down to Tom Brady? Why would I not go down to Lamar Miller? Russell Wilson's probably not going to make the cut because, like, I just think he's overpriced. And maybe he isn't overpriced, but there's some other guys that are priced worse than he is that I'd rather take advantage of. So I just don't think he's going to make the cut. Chris Carson last week had 16 attempts and 2 targets and 2 receptions. At 5,200, he's probably a pretty damn good play. The matchup is not great, but it's not terrible either. So, I like Chris Carson this week at 5,200. If you're not going to go down to Theo Riddick, and you're not going to take the chance on Marlon Mack, which, by the way, we didn't mention the scenario whereas if Marlon Mack misses, but if he misses, Nyheim Hines becomes a fantastic play. And I needed to mention that really quick because we were on him earlier in the year when Marlon Mack would miss, and he's dynamite when Marlon Mack misses. So I just needed to throw that in there really quick. But Chris Carson, Mike Davis, and Rashard Penny are all healthy, and that's what worries me about the situation. Is we know that Pete Carroll is kind of an asshat when it comes to using his running backs. He'd rather use committee, so probably better value. But I do like Chris Carson if you're willing to take a shot there. Doug Baldwin is quote-unquote healthy. He was held out of practice on Wednesday for his groin, but, like, that's a new injury. And so you can't use him. You know, you have to go Tyler Lockett. Even if Doug Baldwin's had some good performances, you have to go Tyler Lockett for 300 more just for the safety that he's not dealing with having his lower body literally on fire the entire game. But I don't know, man. I just can't find a way to like the Seattle offense at home. Even though I should like them, they're in a good spot. San Francisco's bad on defense. Like, I don't really trust Doug Baldwin. I think that Russ Wilson is overpriced. I think that the running back by committee is going to be there. I just don't like this game very much.
Yeah, I guess I feel a little differently than you. I really like the Seattle side of it. I think Pete Carroll's not afraid to stump a mud hole on someone, and the Niners are that bad. Like, I really, really think the Seattle's still in this division, or not division, they're still in the wild card in the West, as the Rams obviously have the division. But Russell at 63, the fact, I agree, Goff's a better play, but no one's going to own Russell when you can go to Goff. And I think that's definitely a piece of the pie. Like, kind of, it's just not the same theory, but the idea between CMC and Saquon ownership-wise is like Goff to Russell Wilson for me. And that could be very interesting. $6,300. I think he's got 3 touchdown upside easily in this matchup. I like pairing him with Lockett at 58. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Chris Carson, I think, is the play at 52. Pete Carroll can be an asshat when it comes to committees, but he has said that Carson is his guy, and that's been the case. It's still been a committee, but Carson gets, I'd say, 60% of the load, a little over 60%, and he's been very productive in doing so against the Niners defense. That's dreadful. So you can definitely look that direction. Matt Breida, banged up, should play this week. If he does play at 58, I don't hate it. They're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to pass the ball. He's finally kind of the only guy there. Like last week, Alfred Morris was a healthy scratch, and Breida got 20 points. He's come off a 20-point, a 31.2-point game as the lone guy there. So definitely someone you could look at with Breida, back-to-back 100-yard rushing games in that one, and you can run on Seattle. Other than that, their whole receiving corps is a mess. Goodwin's hurt. Garcon's hurt. They might play. They might not. If they don't, you got Pettis. You got Bourne. Try to decipher that one. Pettis had the big game this last time. Bourne still had a bunch of targets. Just didn't get the catches. Go figure. The guy I did want to mention, and I agree with everything you said about Gronk. I think Gronk is a better play at $5,400. But if for some reason you want to look at Greg Kittle at 59, I think they're going to keep forcing him the ball. People are going to be disappointed with his 12 points last week. He still had 12 targets. They are going to feed him the ball because they have no one else to throw it to. He is the guy. He is their number one wide receiver at $5,900. So he's someone to at least keep in mind. Might not be the best tight end on the slate, but he's also going to go extremely overlooked in that top tier of tight ends. So I wanted to bring him up. But I like the Seattle side of things. I guess the more I talk about it right now, this game does not sound as appealing as some other ones we've had before. I've seen this late afternoon NFC West game many, many times, and Russell Wilson has a field day in these games a lot. So I just have a weird feeling. There's not a lot of statistical analysis behind it, just a gut hunch that Russell's doing something in this game. All right, let's go to Sunday Night Football. Chargers at the Steelers. This should be a good one. Steelers 3.5-point home favorites. Total is 51.5. Big Ben's back. You got Juju and AB going off. What do you like in this one, James?
Yeah, it's all the usual targets. We talked about Mike Williams last week with Tyrell Williams ailing, and he came through, man. That dude is a physical freak. I just don't understand. I mean, if Tyrell Williams misses again, you just have to kind of default to Mike Williams because he's going to show up and he's going to do well because he has all the tools. They've just got him buried behind Tyrell Williams for no reason. Keenan Allen is obviously a fantastic play, especially against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is not a bad team defensively. They've been good against pass this year, but in that same statement, the Chargers have been pretty much matchup proof all year as well. We know that Phillip Rivers is really good. We know that Keenan Allen is very good and has beat everybody who's been up against him in the second half of the season. So I like everybody on the Chargers side. The main target is going to be Keenan Allen. If Tyrell Williams misses, then the main target is Mike Williams. I don't care what you have to do to get him there. And this is going to be a showdown slate, obviously. But, yeah, you would go Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Phillip Rivers, and that's pretty much that. Melvin Gordon's going to miss a couple of weeks. Is that right?
At least a couple of weeks, yeah. This is devastating news. That's all I know. Not good.
So, yeah, Austin Eckler, obviously fantastic. There's a lot of value on this Chargers side because it's still a good offense, and they've still been doing things well. They've still been racking up yards, even if they haven't been getting wins. It's just a really, really good offense, and Phillip Rivers is really smart, and he's playing really, really good ball right now. So I love the Chargers side of it. On the Steelers side, Juju has been fantastic, but this feels like an Antonio Brown game, right? Like
yeah,
this feels like yeah, this feels like the Antonio Brown blow-up spot. So this could be a lot of fun. This should be a really fun one to watch. I like the Charger side a little bit more just for the value, but you use the value so you can get to Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger, and that's what you do. James Conner could be sneaky since he let so many people down last week. The Chargers do not necessarily have a fantastic rush defense. They've been exposed by a couple guys. They got exposed by Phillip Lindsay a couple weeks ago. So I really like James Conner in a nice little flop lag game here. Everybody expected him to be the guy against Denver, and he wasn't. So I like him a lot. But, yeah, this game, it just looks fun. It looks like one that you can focus on pretty much wherever you want, but take advantage of the value on the Chargers side and use it to get up to the expensive guys for the Steelers.
Yeah, you hit it. You obviously want both quarterbacks on the showdown, I think, in this one. Keenan Allen's a beast, like you said. The value with Williams and Eckler. Eckler's going to be probably 100% owned. It's going to be hard to fade that. It really is at that price point and what he can do. So go and get it. If you want, you look at if you want to get real weird on the showdown slate, you look at Jackson. I believe his name's Jackson. Sorry about this. It is, yes, Jackson. They back up to Eckler now. Justin Jackson. Last week, once Melvin went down, Jackson still had 7 carries for 57 yards in the second half there. So he will get some love there if you want to go really, really cheap and different in your showdown type slate. Someone to look at there. Pittsburgh side, Ben, I think Connor is a phenomenal play. A great play, bounce back, get us what we wanted last week type play. AB and Juju, both great plays. I think it's fun how they're both priced very similarly now on DraftKings after all this time. But the value play on Pittsburgh outside of their tight ends, if you can figure out who that's going to be, the same way you're kind of punting at certain positions with like Mike Williams on the Chargers side. On the Pittsburgh side, look at Ryan Switzer. He's slowly getting his workload up. Last week in a game where they had to throw a lot, which I think they might this week, he had 8 targets, 6 for 67. That's not going to happen every week because prior to that was 3, 2, and 4 target-wise, but he still got you over 5 DraftKings points now in 4 straight weeks with the upside. He had 13 points last week. No one's going to own him. He can be an interesting part of a stack if you so choose to go that kind of direction. But this game should be really, really fun. I'm looking forward to it. Good Sunday night flexed-in game with a lot of postseason possibilities there. So enjoy that one. Sucks Melvin won't be there, but is what it is. All right, Monday Night Football. Redskins at the Eagles. Eagles 6.5-point home favorites. Totals 44. I wish they just canceled the rest of the Redskins season for what they've done recently, but we can't get into that kind of stuff. But Philadelphia, Wentz is an interesting play at 56. It's all about Josh Adams at 47. He's going to be uber popular, but rightfully so. When you're looking at the showdown slate, you definitely look at a guy like Josh Adams in this matchup as you can move the ball on the Redskins in the running game. Ertz is phenomenal. $6,600 on the week long. Still a great showdown play. Alshon, you can roll the dice with Golden Tate if you choose. That Tate thing is super, super annoying, as he should be getting more love, and he still just isn't. He's had 11 catches for 97 yards since joining the team. That's just dreadful. He has had 16 targets over the last 2 weeks, so maybe that'll help. He's kind of the Jarvis Landry of the Eagles right now. He's getting the targets, no production. So pretty much Wentz, Adams, Ertz is where I'm going. Maybe some Alshon on the Eagles side of things. When you look at the Redskins side of things, AP at 5,100 still interesting. Not in love with it. I wish Chris Thompson would come back one of these days. I just don't think it's going to happen. Everyone's darling Trey Quinn, who came up last week, I think is in a great spot again, as the receiving core is so beat up. You can just, Trey Quinn, Josh Doxson, pick your poison on which cheap receiver you want to look at there. And then Jordan Reed's still a really good play. He's averaging over almost 9 targets per game in his last 5 games. So he's definitely their wide receiver 1 in that offense. You got Colt McCoy there. He'll be super cheap. But the guys I really like, Jordan Reed, Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz, Josh Adams, build around that's where I'll be looking on Monday night. What about you, James?
Yeah, this game just doesn't really appeal to me very much. I like Jordan Reed in a spot where maybe Vernon Davis won't catch a touchdown this week. I don't know, man. I don't like the Redskins side of things very much at all right now. Until they're all healthy and we can really sort out what's going to go on, I think that they pretty much just kind of mailed this season in. There's no reason for them to continue trying. They're not going to make the playoffs. They might make the playoffs, but they're not going to win out, So it's kind of a bummer of a season for them with the Alex Smith injury, and I just don't think they have much to play for right now. And then the Philadelphia side, they haven't been good since the Golden Tate trade. I mean, I think it threw off the chemistry, and I think that it threw things off. They were finally kind of catching their stride. What's up?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't really like the Eagles side. Josh Adams is going to be really popular. But he's still in a committee, people are super excited about him. Like, he took over as this elite volume guy, and he's still, even if he is getting more carries, more market share of the carries than any running back so far for Philadelphia, it's still a committee, and it's still somebody who we know is going to be part of a committee. He's not going to get that and hold it down and be like getting 20 touches per game, and that worries me. So I don't really have a lot of interest in this one. This game might suck a lot. I like Ertz. I'm fine with that. I like Alshon Jeffrey. I'm okay with that. But the best play in this game by far is Zach Ertz, and maybe Carson Wentz, just because I don't know that I trust any Philadelphia running back yet, even though Josh Adams has been good and I like him as a talent. I just want to see more. So it's just a really hard game. If you're going to play a showdown slate, both kickers, both quarterbacks, and 2 Eagles wide receivers, I think. I don't think that you need to really do anything with the Redskins side of the ball, to be honest. So it's kind of a shitty game, but it is what it is. And if you don't find anything appealing in it, there's nothing wrong with skipping the showdown slate either.
Yep. I literally had to tell people in our Slack chat about that on a recent one. I said, guys, I think it was that Tennessee-Houston game where it was a lot better than it looked originally on paper, but everyone was sitting there kind of scratching their head and bitching about it. I said, you can always sit it out, guys. It's not going to be the end of the world. There'll be another one on Thursday. There's 3 on Thursday, actually. It'll be fine. So, you don't have to play every single thing. That's for darn sure. All right, we wrapped up all 16 games. Let's do a quick run through the positions as we like to do. Cam Newton or Jared Goff?
Jared Goff.
Cam Newton or Russell Wilson?
Ooh, Cam Newton.
All right, sliding on down a little farther. Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers, I guess, because he's a huge home favorite, and I like his options better.
Lamar Jackson or Andrew Luck?
Gross. Andrew Luck, because he's an actual quarterback.
There you go. Farther down, you got the likes of – you already answered that one, so I'm not going to go there. You still like Tom Brady over Matt Ryan? Tom's $200 more.
Yeah, it's tough because I like Gronk a lot, but I like Julio Jones too. I think that I can see the Minnesota New England game going off easier than I can Baltimore Atlanta. So I'm gonna side Tom Brady, but it's pretty much a wash.
Okay. Let's go to the running back position real quick. You got Alvin Kamara or Ezekiel Elliott in that Thursday night matchup.
Ezekiel Elliott because he has full grasp of the backfield.
All right. James Conner or Saquon Barkley?
James Conner.
Joe Mixon or Aaron Jones?
Aaron Jones playing at home against Arizona is nicer for me.
James White or Sony Michel?
Neither. James White for his PPR upside.
All right. Farther down, Tariq Cohen or this is an ugly one. I apologize already. Tariq Cohen or Matt Breida?
Ew. Tariq Cohen because I think that Trubisky doesn't play, and they did use Tariq Cohen pretty well last week.
Philip Lindsay or Austin Eckler?
Philip Lindsay, just because I don't want to deal with Austin Eckler ownership.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Chris Carson or Marlon Mack if Marlon Mack's healthy?
Chris Carson playing at home.
Theo Riddick or Josh Adams?
Josh Adams, I guess. But only okay. So if Kerryon Johnson misses, then Theo Riddick. But if Kerryon Johnson plays, then Josh Adams.
Okay. Wide receiver position. DeAndre Hopkins or Mike Evans?
Both. Mike Ed. No, DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins
or Devontae Adams?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Antonio Brown, Julio Jones?
Julio Jones.
Julio Jones or DeAndre Hopkins?
Fuck you.
That's why we do this exercise.
That's such a hard one. Julio Jones for the ownership, I guess, because I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be popular, but it's close. It's really close.
Julian Edelman, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods.
Do you want me to rank them?
Yes, please.
Robert Woods, Julian Edelman, Brandon Cooks.
I like that. I like that a lot. Emmanuel, assuming AJ Green plays, Emmanuel Sanders or Tyler Boyd?
Oh, Emmanuel Sanders, lock.
Yeah, that's too easy.
Assuming he doesn't play, though, it's a better question at that point because I think that they probably have like similar volume at that point. But I guess Emmanuel Sanders still wins it because he has a better rapport with Case Keenum.
Yeah, that's kind of my take home in that whole game where I'm kind of lost on it at the moment. Tyler Lockett for Seattle or Corey Davis for Tennessee in this really bad 5K range?
You. It depends on like if you think that Tennessee has turned a corner. I'm okay with I feel the same about either one of them. I think both of them can have good games. But I like Russ Wilson more than I like Mariota, but I like Corey Davis, his volume more than I like Lockett. I have to side with volume on Corey Davis, even if I don't like Tennessee that much. But it depends on how you feel about the quarterbacks involved.
Would you rather have Josh Reynolds at $4,900 over both of them?
No, I'd rather have Corey Davis over Josh Reynolds.
Okie doke. And then down below, the other cheap wide receiver pool is not pretty right now. I'll be really honest with you there. Yeah, I'm not going to go too much more into that, actually. That's just a lot of you is what that is. Tight end position, Kelsey or Ertz?
Travis Kelsey.
Do you have Gronk over both of them?
Yes.
All right. Going on down farther, assuming Eric Ebron is healthy, would you rather play Eric Ebron or Gronk?
I'd rather play Gronk, absolutely, especially with the ownership.
Okay. Now going down farther, Hooper or Brait?
I'll go Brait just because of the relationship he has with Jameis Winston, but I do think that Austin Hooper's a really good play against that Baltimore defense.
And then our two $2,500 tight ends. We mentioned Lacoste, and where the heck did I write down the other guy we had here? We had Lacoste and potentially if Ebron is out, you have Swoop. Lacoste or Swoop?
It would be Swoop at that point. Just because of how often Andrew Luck targets them in the red zone, and Andrew Luck being a way better QB than Case Keenum.
Okay. What are your top defenses this week?
It starts with Kansas City at 2,500 just for the value involved with them. And then the next one would be the Bears at 3,300. I think they're definitely worth that price. And then you can move down to the Dolphins. They're a really nice price at 2,700 playing at home against Buffalo. And then I think that I don't mind the Patriots defense at home if Stephon Diggs misses, because they're good at taking away main options and they would really only have focus on Thielen. So I don't mind that, but the top three defenses are where I'm going to lay my money.
Yeah, I like that Bears call quite a bit. I don't mind the Broncos at all. Dolphins are definitely in play, and the Chiefs, that's kind of where I'll be focusing at the moment and building from there. With that being said, that wraps us up this week. James, any final thoughts on the first 16 games in a while?
No, I mean, it's big slate, but there's some really, really good spots to attack. The main ownership is going to probably be focused on Kansas City and probably Tampa Bay, Carolina. But like I said, the Rams are my favorite stack. Coming off of a bye week, I'm excited to see what they come up with that coaching staff. So it should be a fun week. A lot of options. I think there's a lot of good pivot points, and just kind of build the way that you want to build and focus on the guys that you want and just have some fun with it. Yeah,
lots and lots of ways to go here. You don't have to be too chalky if you don't want. There's a lot of good pivots, as you said. Kansas City Rams will be popular. I like the Carolina Tampa Bay as well. And then I kind of like Seattle and Indy. I think Houston Cleveland's got some weird appeal. And you got your New England. So it's kind of narrow it down throughout the week. Hit up James on Twitter with anything you have. You can get me on Twitter or come to the Sports DJ and Slack chat, whatever works for you. And go check out James's NBA projections. Lots of good stuff going on there. I know it's on the NBA pod, but go check those out. They're very, very, very good stuff, and he'll answer all your questions on that on Twitter as well. But with that being said, check James out on Twitter at Pater_DFS. I am Matt BDentrick, and give us a rating and review on iTunes. We'd really, really appreciate it. This is your 2-point conversion NFL DFS podcast, Week 13 DraftKings preview. Catch you guys later.